Okay, we're going to start on the Motorola 52M2U radio. But today I'm going to be just testing the tubes on it. Because as of the date of which I'm making this recording, I have not received my capacitor orders so far. This radio is quite different from the other two that I worked on. It comes out of the case with just two 3/16" nuts, and the antenna wires are quite long, and I guess they plug in here. There's a lot of corrosion on here. The knobs stay in on the radio, which is good. Tuning cap moves good. The speaker seems good. And the chassis looks easier to work on than the other one, but we'll know as time goes on. I'm not attempting any cap replacement until I get the new ones in. So the first thing I'm going to do here is test the tubes. I have no idea what I could use to clean this up. I have Brasso, but that don't seem to do very much of anything. This appears to be metal, I think. There's a lot of corrosion here. Let me get these wires out, if I can pull them out without damage here, and we'll look at the front here. When I first got this radio, I tried cleaning it up with Brasso. It did a little, but not too much. There seems to be some bad corrosion here. Not sure what they use on the plastic. On the cover. And of course this will need to be repainted. This seems to have a semi-gloss finish. It doesn't have that nice texture that the other two radios had. But I think it'll clean up in time when I get to it, but there's a lot of corrosions here. The only thing I think that can be done with this, or maybe spray it with some gold paint, but it'll probably be like aluminum paint. It'll come off in my hands. But anyways, I got the radio chassis over here, and we're going to test the tubes. We'll not do that on camera. I just want to check them all so that we eliminate any problems with that end of it. Okay, here are the results, and I tested them 3 times each to make sure. The 1R5, the first test, showed good, but it was question mark because when I pushed the button again on the tester, it showed high grid emission. 2 more tests after that, they were good with no grid emission, so I'm assuming that's good. The 1U4 is shorted. I tested that 3 times. It's shorted and very high grid emission. 1U5 is good, and the 3S4 is good. There's a lot of corrosion here, and I don't know how to get that off other than Brasso, and who knows. But anyways, we're not doing anything on this radio. All I did was I sprayed the push button, the power button, which is here, with deoxit. I brushed out the chassis with a brush. We're not doing any cap work or anything on this until I get my caps in. The volume control is in here, so I imagine there's some circuitry in here. Don't know exactly where I left off, but we are continuing with the video clips here on this Motorola 52M2U, I believe. As you can see, I added the 0.47 across the line cap here. I checked all the resistors, they're fine. Over here I added a terminal strip. I took out the selenium rectifier. Now the selenium rectifier came down a little bit here. It stuck down, so there's not going to be a problem with this being even with the end here. There's the 1N4007 right there. And I removed the electrolytic, and I replaced the caps in the radio, as you can see here. On this radio here, I have to replace the 1U4 tube. It's got a short in it. The 1U4 goes there, and I think the 1R5 goes here. I had to take out the 1R5 to do some resistance measurements under the chassis. Check the resistors, they're all within tolerance, and replaced any that were not. This big resistor here is reading right on. And again, this is the one with the coil on it. I did not replace that. It's similar to the other model radio I worked on. Now on the electrolytic, I took it out of the sleeve. This is the sleeve here. Of course, you've seen this already on videos that the video I made for Sal's capacitor order. So, what I'm in the process of doing here is to restuff this. Normally I don't, but rather than to bother with a terminal strip in here, I think it's just as easy to restuff it. I already started out with 247 microfarad, 160 volt, and one 270 microfarad electrolytic. And I got them made up now. What I got to do is to put some leads on it so I can connect them to the orange, red, and blue. And then the black wire over here, which went to the back of the can cap, will be the negative, the common negative, of course. All these should fit right in there nicely. I just got to find something to put in the end, make an end plug here. So the wires are all coming out this end here. I had to clip this off with the wire cutters so I can get this piece out. This, I'm not going to try to restuff and put those in here. That's not necessary. I'll put these in here, extending these leads a little bit so that I can heat shrink them onto these wires here. Then I'll put a plug in here, and I'll make up a plug here, and I'll just put hot glue in it to hold it together. So that's my intention there. I think it's a lot neater to do it that way. It'll look original, and that would be fine. I'm going to have to rob a 1U4 out of one of the other Motorola radios. All the other tubes in this radio are good. As I said, I removed the 1R5 here so I can take some resistance readings down here. The cord is in good shape. This is the original cord. I did not convert this over to switching the hot and the neutral like I did on the other two Motorola radios. I'm really thinking of leaving this all in here rather than to take it out for the battery. They'll never use it on battery. Now you already saw the video I made for working on the grill. There's no point in showing you that again. I have not found anything for a grill cloth yet, but I will eventually. But I want to continue working on this radio and getting this thing restored and working. I have no idea if the IF cans are any good, but the 1U4 was shorted, so that's probably why I was getting static. I don't know. I lubricated the ball bearings in the tuning capacitor, and I used deoxide, I should say, on the volume control. Not that it was noisy, but I just did it anyways. Now, the way I'm making this video here, I want to just make mention that most of the time I say, well, this concludes part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever it is. I have no idea how long this is and how many parts I'm going to get out of these video clips. So the video will end abruptly with a notice on it saying end of part 1, end of part 2, or whatever, because I have no way of knowing whether I'm recording a half an hour, because I'm doing all kinds of clips here. So it'll all work out in the end anyway. So that's it for this. The next step I got to do is to stuff this. Go stuff it. We'll stuff it. And borrow a 1U4, put the 1R5 back in, and hope it works. Okay, I'm ready to restuff the caps. I made some little end caps. This one here is going to be for the front for the leads to come through. On the back, it's simply cut out of cardboard here with the scissors and painted with the Sharpie. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this front one on here, but this is the back. The leads are going to come out at one end. I've got this $1 40-watt hot glue gun, and I can smell it. It's hot. I figured I'd use this. I got this, like I say, at the dollar thrift store last year, and I've got a 15-watter, but I want to try this. So I can drop some hot glue down inside here, so it'll hold that in right now. So that's what we're going to do. We'll do that off camera. Then I got the 3 electrolytics, and I got to add wire to this to have them come out, and I'll use heat shrink on them, and I'll bring them all together and have them come out this hole here. And because I had to cut the ridge off on this, I'll just push it down over the leads after I put some hot glue in it. What I'm going to probably do is push the electrolytics all the way down to the bottom. I'll have long leads on them, and then shove maybe a piece of something in there, cardboard or something, I don't have any cotton, in there so that I can bring the electrolytics, have it rest down at the bottom, and then have something on top of the electrolytics, so that when I put the hot glue on here, I'll put the hot glue on and stick this on top. So we're going to do that off camera. I can feel the heat coming out of this now, so we're going to do that off camera because I don't want the videos to be too long, which they end up to be anyhow. And that worked really well. You probably can't see that too good without getting a flashlight in there, but boy, does that make this case hot. Boy, that's a hot gun, boy, I'll tell you. All right, we'll let that sit a little bit. Let that firm up, and then I'll shove something in there. But before I start doing that, I got to add leads to this and everything else. All right, we continue on with this project here. Okay, as you have seen, I hot glued this in. These are simple thin cardboard that I cut out of the piece here and used a Sharpie to color in black So the electrolytics are going to go in like this. But before I can do any of that, we got to get some heat shrink or spaghetti tubing. This is the common. We've got two 47 microfarads at 160 volts right here to replace the 240 section, the 40 microfarad section, there's two of them. And we've got a 270 microfarad here. I managed to find that, so I don't need to use a 330 because we are replacing a 250, which you may or may not be able to see. Okay, so I've got some wire here. This came off. This video started quite a while ago, but I'm continuing on. This came out of my Windows 7 HP desktop that died on me. So I cut this out of it. This went to the power switch, and it'll enable me to use some of this wire to make the leads on this. What I'm going to do is to put these leads, I got to strip them, I'm pretty sure it's stranded. I got to strip them out, solder them onto here, and put heat shrink on them, and then bring them all together and have the wires come out of this little hole here. However, I'm going to have to probably make this a little bigger to get all, well, all these wires won't be used. There's only going to be 3 wires here, and the ground went over here. But all the leads are going to come out here, so I got to have 4 leads out of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6. Obviously, we're not using the white. And we don't have an orange, but that's all right. One of them's an orange on the radio. One is red. And I believe the other one's blue. So we'll come back on that when I get this set up. All right, now this is the common negative right here. So I tinned this wire. I didn't have any black in this wire here, but I got some Belden that I bought at Jewett City Flea Market. Black, and it's about the same gauge. There's not a lot of current being drawn on this B+. So we got these tied together here. We got a little valley in there between the caps. We're going to try to get this hook in there. It's like threading a needle. Like that. Okay. And we're going to try to twist it in there if we can. Well, that's not working out too good. Yeah. Try to fold that over if I can. Okay, that should be good. Am I in camera? Yeah. Hopefully my ugly head don't get in the way. Okay. All right. That's the negative. Not too bad. First thing I'm going to do is to put some heat shrink in this. What this is going to do is it's going to go all in here, but I want to insulate these after I get the wires on them. And I want to have a heat shrink on every one of them. And then I'll put this down at the bottom of the can as far as I can go. And then I'll have the leads to come together in a bunch and come out the hole in this. So we'll get some heat shrink on that, and I'll be right back. Okay, we got that. We'll heat shrink it. Should be it. I don't like using a heat gun because you got to put I got a nice heavy duty heat gun I bought at a yard sale a few years ago. But I don't like doing that because it'll cook the capacitors trying to do this. So I usually use one of these lighters here. But anyways, we got that. So that's the ground, and they're all common, and it's longer than it needs to be. But when this is into here, which it should go right in there. There it goes. We got enough room here to bring all the leads together once they're insulated and have them come out the front. All right, so next step, we'll shut the video off now, is we'll work on the other colors that we need to complete this. Okay, I got the hook and pinch and soldered onto here. Now we'll slip a piece of heat shrink over. It doesn't really have to be a red piece of heat shrink because it's all going to be hidden inside the can anyways. We'll do that off camera. It can work better that way. Okay, we got that done. The original can calls for red for the first 47. I'm replacing with 47s because you can't get 40s. So normally I'd use a second red, but here it calls for a blue. I have the blue in here because there's wire that's got to be connected to these, because when I cut this electrolytic off, I cut it flush, so the wires are in the radio, so I don't want to get confused. So we want to keep the colors the same. So we're going to take a piece of blue out of here. I'll be doing that, and we'll put it on here. I like to tin my stranded wire because it don't fray that way. Yeah, so we get some use out of some parts out of that computer. I got the fans out. I can use those. The 12-volt fans still be working. If I ever make that power supply, they'll come in handy for that. All right, so now we got to put a hook in this. We're going to do all this off camera. We get a nice little hook in there. All right, be right back. Alright, I got these nice glasses on so I can see what I'm doing with the lights on them. And let's see if I can pinch that hook. It's not always successful, but we'll see. I hope my head don't get in the way here. Alright, what do I want to do? Ah, damn it. Oh, it's like threading a needle. Pinch the damn thing closed. I can't get it in now. I gotta do this off camera. I gotta get my face right in there. Well, it ain't as neat as the others. I'll use a larger piece of heat shrink if I have to, because I had to carry the solder over on the iron because I couldn't hold everything in. But it's all right. So this is the 47 microfarad 160. So is this one. So this one's red. This one be blue, just like the original can showed. And this is the 270 microfarad 50 volt, which is going to have, I got to look on the can and see what kind of color wire that's going to need. But one thing at a time, we'll get a piece of spaghetti over that. And we'll be right back. Okay, the 250 microfarad calls for orange. We don't have orange in this here, and I don't have it on my Belden wire. So we'll use yellow, and we'll make a note of it on a piece of paper here. Because if I don't write things down, I will mess up. So we'll cut a piece of yellow off of here, and I'm making them much longer than they really need to be. I'm going to try to run these wires directly to the terminals in the radio. But if it's too hard to get at, I'll butt splice them and use the heat shrink. However, I don't have an orange heat shrink. I have pink. Alright, so we'll continue with that off camera here. Alright, we did a good hook and pinch on that one. See if I can get this to solder right without it popping off here. Okay. Alright, we got to make a note that yellow is going to replace the orange. I like to try to stay with the same colors. That's good. That should take spaghetti quite nicely. Okay. Now, I don't know if I got some big heat shrink. I can stick it over the top of this, kind of keep them together, but let's see. I don't think so. All right, that's. See, I think it's the bottom right there. Just want to see how far it goes in. Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. All right, now we'll see if we can twist these leads here. At least enough to get through the hole. Oh, you leaving, Tom?
Yeah, my mates are just out in the yard.
Okay. You going bowling?
Love you, bye.
Bye. Bye. Tommy's going out. Okay. I have a big piece of heat shrink, but I don't think I need it. Okay, I'm going to work on this off camera because I got to find a way to hold this in there. All right, what I got to figure out is what I can stuff in here because I want to either glue this or use hot glue. The thing is, if I use hot glue, if I ever have to get the caps out, I shouldn't have to do that. I ran 155 volts on these 47 microfarad 160 volt caps, and rock solid. They were ice cold, power factor's good, everything's good on them, ESR's good. So the most voltage you're going to have on this, and the input filter is about 110 volts on this radio. So I just got to figure out, before I get that down in there too far, how I'm going to hold that in there. Now I could glue it. I might glue it with Duco cement, I guess. I could probably do it the way I'm doing now, but I don't want it to fly out of there. Yeah, not bad. It's not perfect. There's no real way to keep that. Well, not bad, I guess. Not bad for a half-assed blind tinkerer. We're going to run some Duco cement in there, and we'll do that off camera and show you afterwards. You got Duco cement on it, holding it up with some D-cell batteries here. I think it'll come out pretty good. Not a professional job, but it'll do. I didn't want to hot glue the whole assembly in there because it'd be virtually impossible to get it out. Not that I have to. The chances are, of me replacing that, well, I'll be long dead by the time that goes, and the next guy can worry about it. So we're just going to let this sit for now, and we'll come back when we're ready to install it in the radio. How's that sound?